for another Coffee with Kilroy. This time, the first one of the year, the first one of the new year. Hope your new year's going well. If it's not, hope it gets better. But, it just started out, so you got plenty of time to catch up. I like to call this segment, you got it, Beverage in a Book. My beverage, coffee, hence the name. Your beverage, well, whatever you like. The book, well, today is Coral Sea Solitaire, an original game book by Mike Wiley, Sean Cook, Grant Wiley, published by Worthington Games or Worthington Publishing. And I've covered a few of these, as you might have seen on my channel from time to time. I think I've got the whole set, collect them all. Worthington has been doing these game books since 2021, I think, is when they came out with Bismarck and maybe even Waterloo. And there's Bismarck, and this Coral Sea is going back to some of the same gameplay that we saw in Bismarck. That gameplay being kind of a search, there's a kind of a grid search, and you're going to be charting out a path of your Lexington and Yorktown task force, and the Japanese carriers are trying to find you and destroy you. And so you'll have a game board, you'll have status boxes for your task force, and then there'll be an AI where you roll for the Japanese using preferably 2 different colored 6-sided dice and determine what the AI is on there. I'm interested in this book not only because I've covered several of these, and I'll put a link to some of my coverage down below, and I just got done with Kilroy's Key 3, going through 14 different categories and then a game of the year based on those 14 different categories. And one of those categories was war game books, which I don't want to be a spoiler here if you haven't seen it yet, but I think some Worthington books might have been mentioned in there, maybe even Bismarck. You need to check that out. And I'll put a link to that down below as well. But so interest in these war game books and how they've developed, especially over 2022 and as they continue to develop into 2023. But also this game deals with the Battle of the Coral Sea, which had the USS Lexington, where my uncle James served. He was on the USS Lexington, and when it was heavily, heavily damaged in the Battle of the Coral Sea, and was really never the same after that. But I only knew him years later. So this one has a little bit of interest just because of the family connection here. So let's get into the book itself. I need a sip of coffee. You feel free to take a sip whenever you want. I'm not checking and I'm not judging. So these are full color. They're calling these now the Carrier Command Series. So that'd be interesting if they're going to do more in this series. They are full color. You've got they're in landscape because that's the way the rules are in landscape, but that's because that is the way that the game is laid out as well, between the Japanese AI and the play area for your task force. So you got the rules here. It's triple column, full color. It's gonna explain the Japanese bots, your game board, how you chart stuff out, how you keep track of stuff here. You've got your sequence of play. You've got movement, grid search, combat, how to win, rules to remember. So, and a little bit of designer notes and strategy. And then you've got a playthrough here, triple column again, but full color. You've got a playthrough of a few turns here just to get familiar with the game. Then you've got the game itself. This is the first scenario. There's several different scenarios. Let's look at the back here real quick. It says, this book game contains 4 game sets, and each game set is a different Japanese carrier strategy. There are 5 distinct missions within each game set for you to win and defeat the Japanese, making a total of 20 distinct gameplays. So you got 20 distinct gameplays, but you can also replay these. Now, I tend to make a copy of just this page, and then I can flip this open and keep track of the Japanese AI separately. But you can write in here, and I'm sure they'll be happy if you write in here, because then you'll have to buy a new book, and I think would be more than happy to sell you a new book. But some people put plexiglass over this or some kind of paper that you can mark off on this. Again, I just usually tend to make a copy. And you do have to make different copies because these pages are different, I believe. There might be different evasive tactics, or there might be different things you mark off. At least the operations are a little bit different, and the victory conditions are probably going to be different. So this is the first one here. Then you've just got multiple different ones. This is over the horizon, and the AI is going to be a little bit different. I haven't looked at all these maps yet. I imagine these might be different as well. Definitely the victory conditions probably be different. The evening of the 6th. So yet another scenario here. And these are just different scenarios. And so you're probably going to have different AI. You might have some different stuff down here. I think a lot of it might be in the AI, the different types of convoys, or the different types of Japanese task force that are hunting you down. If you see that a little bit better there. So you can see what the AI looks like. Because I think that's where a lot of the differences and nuances and strategy come from. Then you have the boxes to keep track of the Japanese, and then you've got your status boxes down here. You have the Lexington, you have fighters, you got bombers, and you've got the Yorktown fighters and bombers. And you've got fighter cap assignment, and then carrier search direction per turn. So you've got some different boxes to keep track of or check off there. The most confused battle in history. I'll recreate that one there. This one is Operation Mo is decoded. This is that looks like this one of the earlier one. I wonder if they changed it up a little bit here. So you've got all these different, and maybe they just do different strategies with each one of those. Different AI strategies. As you can see here, you've got everything's full color, and when you roll the dice, you're going to be able to figure out, which, what box it goes in, because you've got two different colors, black and white, and that will tell you which of these to go to, and it'll tell you what the Japanese are going to do on this board here. You've got an attack table here as well, and a cap defense table here. Don't know if I pointed that out earlier. So several different scenarios. As I said, there's 20 unique gameplay sets here that you can play. And then, of course, you can play any one of those multiple times, depending on how you copy or preserve the game book elements. So as I said, this one kind of goes back to the Bismarck, going back to the beginning. I think Bismarck might have been the first book in this whole series. And it had charts like this where you're kind of doing a grid. That's a little bit interesting. Look at this. It's not even a grid. You're just doing a attack Lexington and fuel plane on deck. So this is a little bit different here. So there's definitely some different gameplay between these different scenarios, even though they might do a different same scenario, but they change up the AI a little bit on it as well. So quite a bit in this book in that regard. So this, again, they're kind of going back to the Bismarck system, and they're now calling it the Carrier Command. So I don't know if they're going to come out with a lot of different stuff in here. And here's your battle archive. You can keep track of each one of these different missions and how you did on American VPs versus Japanese VP, date played, winner, and the like. So you can keep track of your games you played on it. And there you have it. That is Coral Sea Solitaire. Love to know your thoughts on this game or any of the Worthington book games or any of the war game books I've covered at all. There's really a lot of offerings out there now, more so than ever before. This space goes back to the 70s, with war game books, but has developed tremendously over the last year or so, a little bit over a year. And I think it's going to continue to develop as well. So love to know any of your thoughts on that. Again, I'll put some links to some coverage I've done on this over time. My channel sometimes becomes synonymous with war game books. Not my intent, but it's something I like to keep up on. This is an interesting niche of the hobby. 1, it's solitaire. 2, it's very portable. And 3, it's something that you can kind of go back to and not have a lot of setup. depending on how you want to preserve the pages or do the gameplay on it. There's not a ton of setup here. Once you know how to play the game, it's something you just throw on a table or throw in your lap and have at it. Grab some pen and a pencil, and it says book requires 2 dice, a pen, and a sense of adventure to play. Anyway, that's what I have for you on Coffee with Kilroy, the first of the new year. Excuse me there. I swear it's just coffee. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope you are enjoying your beverage as well, and love to know your thoughts on any of this stuff. Thanks for stopping by. I always appreciate it. I truly do. Let me drop a comment to let me know you stopped by. Love to know what you think about any of this stuff. Anyway, take care. Thanks for watching.